The Geometry Dash Awards are published by Viprin at the end of every update or year to vote on some of the community's accomplishments from the year, most of which have to do with creating. The levels voted upon are separated into categories, which was always weird to me because many of the best levels don't fit into any category, or they draw asterisks from multiple. The same applies to creators. My favorite creators from last year were TwigX Cabaret and Overdefo. TwigX Cabaret, who made some of my favorite levels last year, some of which still remain unrated, obviously wasn't nominated because she's too controversial and isn't that popular, which is honestly pretty understandable. Overdefo, however, lost the vote for Best Design Creator. Best Design Creator? Overdefo's literally known for making a whole new style. Why would you lock them into one category? And how can Overdefo and Presta be in the same category as Clonex and Alkali? One of my biggest problems with the GD Awards is that the voting system doesn't actually have the intended effect of celebrating creators. Instead, it ranks the level by how much they've already been celebrated. It's a popularity contest, and that would be fine, but it's not explicit enough. This is especially troubling when the word best is used in the categories. Instead of showing a clip of the level or the creator's levels on screen for like 2 seconds, you could get someone to explain what made the level good or popular. This, in my opinion, would be much more celebratory of the creator than saying they were the best of a specific category. Regardless, one of the better categories of last year's awards was Best Story, which focused on levels with a narrative. The level that got 40% of the vote, and wait, it beat out Mountain Climb? Mountain Climb got last place? Was WhyMeWhyMeWhyMe by TMNGaming, a level that, ironically enough, most of my problems are with its story beats. At the beginning of the level, TMN tells us that he's going to show us the inside of his mind, and follows this text with the player jumping through obstacles of a few snippets of his unfinished levels. Putting unfinished levels in broken segments that you can jump through is honestly a very creative way to present them. Unfinished montage levels have been made before, but usually they're just random segments combined with no rhyme or reason, just to like fill up the full length of a level, get featured, and then be forgotten 2 seconds later. The way you can travel up or down with toggle triggers really sells the size of the environment. As the part progresses, more and more levels start to appear on screen. The second part of Why Me is filled with existential questions. TMN tries to highlight some of the questions and make others difficult to read by mixing random and specific questions together. I think the most interesting ones are the ones he poses about Geometry Dash creating, self-perception, and the way those relate. He asks, why am I so average? Is this just another level that will get lost in a sea of better ones? Was making this level a waste of time? Can I have fun creating again? These are all thoughts that TMN had while making the level, as the beginning text explicitly tells us that this is happening inside his mind. Remember these questions, they'll be relevant later on. After a title drop, TMN gives us another unfinished level mixed part, but this time the levels are in rectangular snippets and they have a parallax effect. There's more text in this part too, and it's shown as useful tips in one of the repeated unfinished levels. The most interesting to me is, useful tip. If you want to become an artist, probably don't. Remember this tip for later too. After this part, the text from the beginning of the level repeats, but this time it flashes to read, I am inside your mind. This is where TMN tries to communicate with the player. The player is a bit of a misnomer though, because I think his intended audience is other creators. He asks us if we feel the same way about creating as he does, and if we feel insignificant. He then retells his own creating journey. 7 years before the level released, he saw creating as a fun way to pass time. Over time, though, his thoughts became dark, and while his text is on screen, he shows what appear to be negative comments he's received before. The text from the beginning of the level repeats again, but this time it reads, I am going insane. TMN says, let me inspire you. Be happy. Let me heal you. Let me help you. Understand me. Acknowledge me. Please understand me. Please acknowledge me. Please be happy. As the level ends, the words, please help me, remain on screen. I'll start with the aspect of the level I like the most, which is the way TMN presents the unfinished levels and how they progress. The first part introduces them well. The third part builds on that introduction and presents them in a very pretty way. Having the repeat is a simple but clever idea, as it emphasizes and creates structure for the useful tips, while also potentially having further significance. My own interpretation of it is that TMN can't get the unfinished levels out of his head or out into the world. The fourth part, with TMN's old levels, is well done thematically because it shows the change of the levels over time. The way they're grayed out represents that they were from another time and mindset, which the text in this part supports. TMN says, but the innocence of that boy and his creative mind are gone. TMN does a great job of expressing his negative feelings around creating and how they developed. When he tries to explain why he has those feelings, though, is where the level begins to fall apart, in my opinion. In the beginning of the first part, there's some subtle text that flashes to reveal hidden messages. Feel free to look around changes into never free. Not enough time and not enough talent. change into not enough effort. I've been blessed with knowledge changes into I've been cursed with knowledge. These hidden messages frustrate me because I think they're either too cryptic or entirely incorrect. Never free could mean a lot of things. Is it referring to the negative comments that appear later in the level? Is it referring to the mental burden of creating that's also mentioned in the level? Is it referring to the general feeling of stuck? Is it referring to all or something else entirely? We can't know for sure, because TMN doesn't explain what he means. Not enough effort frustrates me the most of these three, because I'm so sick of the way the community vastly overestimates the amount of association between effort and quality. If someone spends years and years painting a replica of an image, while that may have taken a lot of effort, that doesn't inherently make it a good piece of art. On the other hand, a Geometry Dash level that was very well received and didn't take very long to make is Passed by Nagefu, which was made in under 30 hours. I've been cursed with knowledge is also incredibly cryptic. It comes right after not enough time, effort, and talent, which suggests that quote-unquote knowledge represents the quote-unquote requirements to make a good level, and his gain awareness over time that he doesn't meet those standards in his own mind immediately while creating. With that in mind, let's return to the questions from the second part in the level. Why am I so average? Is this just another level that will get lost in a sea of better ones? Was making this level a waste of time? These three questions relate to the way he says he's cursed with knowledge. They are expressions of the self-doubt that comes from not meeting his own personal standards for himself while creating. However, answering these questions in relation to why me shows why they're fundamentally flawed and that those standards are too. It didn't get lost in a sea of better levels, it won the GD Awards, with 40% of the voters thinking it had the best story of the nominated levels. If you asked almost any of those voters if it had been a waste of time for TMN to make that, they'd say it wasn't. Can I have fun creating again? This is the most daunting question of the four. Both TMN's self-doubt and the questions he constantly asks to constrain himself have made it so that he can't have fun in the editor anymore. Regardless of that, though, the answer to this question is, well, obviously yes. And the answer is right there, staring him in the face. But his mentality about creating is so flawed that he doesn't see it, and he thinks that no is potentially correct. One of the useful tips in the third part reads, useful tip, if you want to become an artist, probably don't. This is probably the most upsetting part of the level for me. It shows TMN's solution to the pain that comes from his feelings about creating, which is to stop creating entirely. This is such a sucky solution. It sucks so much. This level's so disappointing because it does such a great job of pointing out a problem with the creating community. A lot of creators aren't having fun anymore. This is evident in how much it resonated with people. The comments both on YouTube and the level itself are filled with creators saying that they relate, and it got 40% of the vote in the GD Awards. But while the level does such a great job of pointing out the problem that creators are miserable, it doesn't get why this happens exactly right. It's true that TMN doesn't meet his own standards of what he wants to create, and that stops him. What he gets wrong, though, is that he thinks this comes from the comments. In the I am inside your mind part of the level, he juxtaposes his thoughts becoming dark over time with negative comments. While maybe a little bit of the external pressure comes from those comments, it's clearly not most of it. This is shown by the reception to Why Me, which is overwhelmingly positive. But TMN hasn't made a level since, and hasn't even made a video talking about this level that he said he might make. TMN never takes the time to answer, why isn't creating fun anymore, or how can I have fun creating again? So let's do it. Why isn't creating fun for TMN anymore? He doesn't meet his own standards, but what creates those standards? Well, I think it's two things. One of them is the rating system. If you look at the comments of the level he made before Why Me, Soul Searching, you can see a sequence of comments from TMN between when he released it until when it eventually got rated. If this level doesn't get epic rated, I will eat glass. Anyone find the Easter eggs yet? Those blank stars at the end can be filled. Just saying. I might have to eat glass because here I am 6 months later with no feature. What am I doing wrong? Update. Made the gameplay a little easier and more consistent, and center the end art. Dude, what am I doing wrong? I seriously not worth an epic rate? Am I missing something? My stomach hurts. I wish. Part of my mentality in life is that I'll never accomplish enough to be satisfied. His satisfaction with his levels is very dependent on the in-game recognition they get. I also think some of the structure of Why Me itself feels like it was made to fit the standards of an epic rated level. For example, the gameplay, block designs, and air decoration in the second part and the last part have nothing to do with the meaning of the level, and they feel like they're just made to fill space that might be considered conventionally empty. Many of the jumps in the level have indicators which tell you where to jump. These are usually put in levels to make them more sight-readable, which many consider an aspect of good gameplay despite making the gameplay one-dimensional. Also, Most of the text in the level is made with custom fonts that are designed to look clean and readable. His standards for himself are also dictated by what he thinks people might like as he tries to control his audience. This is evident in the text within WhyMe. Is this just another level that will get lost in a sea of better ones? Was making this level a waste of time? Nobody will remember your name in 400 years. And some profile posts from him. I want to make the best level in this game. That's a bold statement, but screw it. What's the worst that happens if I fail? Who's everyone's favorite creator and why? I want to elevate my creating and want to know what exactly makes the best creator. And now to the most important question. How can creators have fun creating again? TMN tries to cover this ground in the last part of WhyMe. He begs us to let him inspire us, heal us, help us, understand him, and acknowledge him. But I don't think he's a great person to give us that answer because he's clearly suffering from the plague he diagnoses. But when TMN asks me whether those thoughts haunt me like they haunt him in the second part, my answer is no, they don't. And when TMN asks me whether the insignificance of my existence weighs down on me, my answer is that it doesn't. So I think I can give my own 2 cents, even if this probably won't reach as many people as WhyMe did. Creators are losing self-confidence and not having fun in the editor anymore. Based on the way people resonated with WhyMe, this is because they have such high standards for themselves, because of the external pressure of the rating system, and because they try to control their audience. But I know it's not easy to get rid of those things, and I know from experience what it feels like. I literally had to start making art in a completely different medium and then come back to the game. Just know that you can have fun in the editor. And while I can't pinpoint a 100% guaranteed way to get everyone to do so, I can at least talk about what worked for me. First of all, it's important to know that the rating system is completely arbitrary. The rating system is completely arbitrary. It does not objectively measure the quality of your level. Say it with me. The rating system is completely arbitrary. It does not objectively measure the quality of your level. TMN didn't understand this, and when his level didn't get epic rated, he thought it was because there was something objectively wrong with the level, and immediately tried to find a reason where none can ever be given. I know it can be hard, but you have to stop using your level as rated or how it is rated as a metric for if it is good. If you're really proud of a level that isn't rated, that doesn't mean your level has been deemed objectively bad. There's so many great unrated and unrateable levels out there. Second of all, it's important to know that the way the community perceives your level also doesn't objectively measure its quality. Your level might have super negative comments, it might have mixed comments, it might have really positive comments. You might be super proud of it, you might not be proud of it at all, you might even hate it. None of these things measure how good your level is. The community has certain tendencies. One of them, unfortunately, is disliking levels that are experimental or different. You might also have certain preferences that affect your perception of your own level. You might make a level that a ton of people really like, but that you don't. I know I've done that, and it doesn't make that level good or bad. And lastly, probably the hardest one to shake is having high standards for oneself. I think that there are a lot of building exercises that can be done to deal with this. I'll list a few that I know for a fact have personally worked for me and others, and you can choose to do any or all of these. Try doing a build swap. Grab a friend or two, each of you pick a song you like, and build for 20 minutes. After the time runs out, switch levels, keep building, and repeat. There isn't too much rigidity to the structure either, and this applies to all of these exercises. You can go for more than 20 minutes, you can take a break for a few weeks and come back to the level. You can even stop working on one of the levels when you get tired and turn the other one into a traditional collab. What you cannot do, however, is make it a perfectionist thing. If you think the level sucks, great, that's part of the process. Gotta make bad stuff to make good stuff. And you might even be surprised. You might look back on it in a few days or weeks and think that it doesn't suck at all, actually. Just don't overthink it. Try making a level without using the delete button. Don't spend too much time deleting things or adding too much detail to a small section, or it's simply not going to be fun. A big perfectionist urge is deleting everything you make until it looks good. Avoid this as much as you can. Try making a level with a low object count. Whether it's 50, 100, 1,000, or even 10,000, it can be a really fresh look at the editor to do so. I've personally found it very fun, and I think part of the reason it blew up so much as a trend is just because it's really fun. Try making a level without triggers. You don't realize how nice they are to have until they're stripped away from you. This is a great way to focus more on the big picture in a level than trying to get all the small details perfect. The rough idea or the gist is usually good enough, sometimes great, and sometimes even better. Try making a level in a short amount of time. It can be super hectic, but it forces you to keep going and not linger on one specific element of a part or a level too much. You can't do that because if you do, you won't get enough down before the timer stops. Try using objects you don't normally use. A lot of creators today depend on certain objects, one of the ones being glow, even for non-glow creators. This is a great way to expand your knowledge of the editor and experiment at the same time. Try making an alternate account. If you aren't happy with how a level's turning out and don't want to ruin the cleanliness of your main, then you can just upload it on a second account. You can even decide to re-upload the level to your main, finish it, or improve it later. This is a great way to stop worrying about the rating system, your audience's reception, have fun, and experiment all at the same time. The level probably won't get rated, and your audience will be severely limited, which can be kind of freeing. Anyway, that's it for me. Special thanks to the Linewriter Artist Collective for providing additional insight and helping me think about and talk through a lot of this stuff. Also thanks to Embed for suggesting I do a review of a level that I don't think is good. If you're still watching, thanks a lot for making it to the end of this massive video. I didn't expect it to be so long. It's almost as long as my capstone paper for all of high school, and I wrote this script in less than a day. So it's kind of ridiculous. Please, if you're a creator, go have fun in the editor, and I'll see y'all later.